though the start of this year was like a bad horror movie script, we can with absolute pleasure tell you that the gaming industry, with their upcoming titles, will prepare us for the possibly worse scenarios than the one we're currently living in. All jokes aside, by the end of this year, we can expect a bunch of titles from the horror genre that look very promising. It's clear that the developers have really put effort into their games, making every single one unique in their own way. Welcome to HD Play. My name is Ivy, and you're watching Top 13 list of upcoming horror games for 2020. From the creators of Until Dawn, a continuation of the Dark Picture anthology series is coming our way, this time under the name A Little Hope. This interactive survival horror from the third-person POV is the second out of 8 planned titles in the series. Similar to Until Dawn and the first part of the Dark Picture game, making choices is essential to the storyline, considering that your good or bad decisions will affect the story's ending. Little Hope will have multiple endings and ways the storyline will go, so be careful with the choices you make to not accidentally kill someone because you stepped on a branch. No pressure though. The game follows a group of students who, with their teacher, are stuck in an abandoned city, Little Hope, known for their witch hunts in 1692. Exploring the city, they witness the murders of a group of people from the past that look very similar to them. They have to figure out what happened to the previous group and what evil is responsible for the city's ultimate ruination. Luckily, you don't have to be on your own on this journey, since the game has 2 multiplayer modes: Shared Story Mode that allows 2 players in co-op online mode, and Movie Night, in which up to 5 players can choose their own characters and go through this game together with just one controller. The Dark Pictures Little Hope will be playable on Windows, PS4 and Xbox One, and it should be released somewhere in the middle of this year. After 5 years since the release of the game Dying Light that the public really seemed to enjoy it, Studio Techland will be releasing the second part of the game, under the obvious title Dying Light 2. The story of this part starts 15 years after the original game, with the new protagonist named Aiden, who has various parkour skills that help him go through the town faster. This open-world zombie apocalyptic RPG will mostly have melee weapons that you can use against the enemies, with little to none long-range weapons, such as crossbows, shotguns, and spears, that the player will be able to upgrade from collecting items. Just like in the first part, the zombies will be slower during the day and much more aggressive during the night. Making certain decisions will directly affect the way non-playable characters see the protagonist, which could lead to closing or opening certain regions in the city, which will inspire the player to play the game over and over again. Similar to the last part, the game will have a 4-player co-op multiplayer, in which the players will be able to join their friends and see how their decisions affected the story. Dying Light 2 will be available on Windows, PS4 and Xbox One. More information about the release are still unknown, but we know that the game will be out somewhere this year. Little Nightmares 2 is set in a weird place between dreams and reality, where kids can see a terrible world that awaits them. In this puzzle horror adventure, the player will find itself in a role of a character named Mono, who will have the help of the protagonist from the previous part, a girl named Six, who won't directly be controlled. Mono is in the search to find out the truth about the Signal Tower's dark secret and save Six from the horrible destiny that awaits her. Both of them fight against the residents of this world, going through a couple of regions like forests, hospitals, schools, and Black Tower, where they will meet bosses and characters such as the hunter, the teacher, the students, the viewers, and the broadcaster. Will Mono and Six find their way through the unseen part of the Little Nightmares world, solving many puzzles, sneaking and winning multiple battles? We will find out somewhere after the summer of this year on PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and Windows via Steam platform. Award-winning cult classic Remothered this time returns under the name Broken Porcelain, with many differences in the gameplay and new storytelling elements, with sequences that give the characters more life. This survival horror continuation is a single-player game sequel to the 2018 game under the name Remothered Tormented Fathers. The players will find themselves in the role of Jen, who was kicked out of an all-girls school and for punishment sent in Ashman Inn to work as a maid. Together with her new friend Lynn, Jen slowly realizes the dark history of the castle she works in. After encountering multiple weird happenings and haunting figures that roam the halls, they decide to escape from this prison, with intense stealth, hiding in the shadows of Ashman Inn. Aside from lore and challenging puzzles, the music composed by Luca Balboni gives the game a much darker atmosphere, making it a way scarier experience that will haunt the players for a long time. Are you brave enough to explore and escape this creepy place? You will find out in summer of 2020, when the game will be available on Windows, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. From the creators of the fantastic Amnesia series comes the newest, dark sequel called Amnesia Rebirth. This time, the player finds itself in the role of Tassie Trianon, who wakes up in the deserts of Algeria, unable to remember how she got there, how long she's been there, and where is everyone else. To collect more information about her past, Tassie has to pass a long way, facing her fears and regrets, exploring the world around her and solving puzzles. Amnesia Rebirth will be released on fall this year for PS4, Windows, Mac OS, and Macintosh operating systems. For all fans of the popular series The Project Blue Book that impatiently wait for the new season, we can with pleasure tell you that somewhere at the end of this year we should expect a game, Once Upon a Time in Roswell, that will suffice your curiosity for the unexplained alien and UFO phenomenons. This psychological first-person POV horror will take you to Roswell, New Mexico, to research about the missing family that has been radio silent for a week. Without any proof of their kidnapping, the player goes to their family home so they could collect the possible evidence that will lead to the answer of the question, what happened, and more importantly, whether they're dead or alive. Going through flashbacks of war and meeting otherworldly creatures, the character goes through a battle with their inner demons and questions its own identity. The game, whose former name was the Peterson Case, now under the name of Once Upon a Time in Roswell, will be available in the last quarter of this year on Windows, PS4, and Xbox One. Have you ever wondered how you would survive in a zombie apocalypse? If you have, then you will soon have the opportunity to experience it in a totally different way than watching a movie or a series on that topic. AMC and Survios have, for all the fans of the Walking Dead series, prepared an unforgettable experience in the shape of a VR game, The Walking Dead Onslaught. The players will be able to choose one of their favorite characters from the same named show and try to survive in the world filled with zombies and remaining survivors. With the help of real motion VR mechanic, you will be able to use different melee and ranged weapons in a fight against zombies and people, giving them realistic wounds on their body. This horror simulation will be released on the market this year, and to be able to play it, you will need one of the VR headsets, such as HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, and Valve Index. Most horror games put you in the shoes of people struggling to survive. In Carrion, however, you're the grotesque monster fighting your way out of the underground. Amorphous creature of unknown origin that haunts and eats everyone who locked him up, spreading panic and terror. The game is adorned by a fantastic 2D pixel graphic, and if you're impatient to try it out, you can download the demo for free on a GOG site. Grow bigger and advance yourself while destroying the prison and collecting new skills. Carrion will be available by the end of this year on Windows and Xbox consoles. From the developer studio IBB Software, by the end of this year, after a long time, we are finally going to be able to try out their interesting FPS horror title by the name of Scorn. The story of this horror game is set in a dark, maze-like world full of creepy statues, where every location will have its own story, puzzles, and characters. As you go through the game, you will find new regions, collect new weapons, and learn new skills. The player will have a better experience with knowing how their character moves, and soul interaction with the objects that's very realistic. Ammunition won't be endless, so you will have to make a choice when to shoot the enemy and when to hide. The game is made in an Unreal 4 engine, and it will exclusively be released for the upcoming Xbox Series X console, with a 4K and 60 FPS, while unfortunately won't be available for older Xbox consoles. This title will also be available on Steam and GOG for Windows. From an Italian indie Pro Phoenix studio, in October of this year comes a puzzle horror game from a first-person POV by the name Hellseed. like in Black Soul. This game is made in a S2 Engine HD that will also be made by the same studio, so we should expect a much better and detailed graphic. The story of this game is set in 1980s, where the player takes the role of a detective who's exploring a psychiatric hospital in the province Turin. Aside from your detailed investigation, the player also notices that there's a dark, invisible force following them. Whether this haunting entity is connected to the missing people or not, you will find out in October on your Windows computers via Steam. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines II is the sequel of the same-name 2004 game. This action RPG is set in the 21st century Seattle and follows the story of a murdered man who got another chance at life as a vampire with weak abilities, who enters a dark world full of demons, werewolves, and other beings, trying to get to the top of the vampire society. Choosing which clan you will follow into the battle on the blood market and making smart decisions will affect the story and the characters around you. Bloodlines 2 is a first-person POV game that will at certain points transfer into a third-person point of view. This long-awaited title is expected by the end of this year, when it will be available on Windows, PS4, Xbox One, and new consoles Xbox Series X and PS5. For a more detailed description of the game, check out the video on our channel about the titles coming out this year for the upcoming gaming consoles. The Medium is a mind-blowing psychological horror title that features the work of one of the genre's best composers. The game throws you into the role of a medium stuck between the real and the spiritual world. Haunted by visions of murdered children, she takes on the journey to the abandoned hotel where horrible tragedies took place and where she will be able to find answers. In solving your doubts, the ability to move between the two worlds helps a lot, because it will give you a way better perspective of the events that happened. The Medium is expected for Windows and Xbox Series X console, and it should be released during the holidays of this year. The story of this first-person survival horror is set in 1898 in an abandoned hotel, and it is inspired by the true story of the haunting Welsh tale about the Elizabeth Williams. The story is about a family's empire driven by torture, slavery, piracy, and supernatural mystery that suffocate the grounds of the hotel. The core of survival in the game is 3D-based AI system, and it will be adorned by the realistic 4K graphic. Made of Scare will be available on the market in June of this year on PS4, Xbox One, and Windows, while it will be available on Nintendo Switch by the end of 2020. This was our top list of upcoming horror genre games that will be coming out by the end of this year. Will these games justify the epithet of some of the best horror titles? We will have to wait and see. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe for more. And if you'd like to give us your opinion or think we missed something out from our list, be sure to comment down below. My name is Ivy and you're watching HD Play.